New Orleans, Louisiana, one of the most iconic cities in the United States, carries a story rooted in centuries of cultural fusion, colonial ambition, and resilience in the face of disaster. The city was officially founded in 1718 by the French Mississippi Company led by Jean-Baptiste Le Moyne de Bienville. It was named La Nouvelle-Orléans in honor of Philippe II, Duke of Orléans, who was the regent of France at the time. The location was chosen strategically near the mouth of the Mississippi River for its potential in trade and military advantage, despite the challenging swampland it was built upon. Initially a French colony, the city changed hands multiple times in its early history. In 1763, France ceded New Orleans and the surrounding Louisiana territory to Spain. After the 7 Years' War, the Spanish controlled the city for 4 decades, during which time much of its distinctive architecture was developed, thanks in part to devastating fires in 1788 and 1794 that led to major rebuilding efforts. Eventually, in 1800, Spain secretly returned Louisiana to France, and just 3 years later, Napoleon sold the vast territory to the United States through the Louisiana Purchase. Under American rule, New Orleans quickly became one of the most important port cities in the U.S., serving as a gateway for goods and people traveling between the Gulf of Mexico and the interior of North America. It was also a major center for the domestic slave trade, contributing to its complex and often painful racial history. Still, New Orleans remained a vibrant hub of cultural diversity, an amalgamation of French, Spanish, African, Caribbean, and later American influences. These cultural layers helped shape its distinctive music, food, language, and spiritual practices. The city's economic and cultural significance continued through the 19th and early 20th centuries, but its low-lying geography would eventually contribute to one of the most catastrophic events in American history. Hurricane Katrina. On August 29, 2005, Katrina made landfall near New Orleans. While the storm itself was powerful, it was the failure of the city's levee system, designed to protect its below-sea-level neighborhoods, that led to overwhelming devastation. About 80% of New Orleans was submerged underwater. Over 1,800 people lost their lives, and entire communities, especially in the lower Ninth Ward, were destroyed or permanently displaced. The aftermath of Katrina exposed deep socioeconomic and racial divides in the city. Rescue and relief efforts were slow and uneven. Many residents, particularly African-American families, were left to fend for themselves in the chaos. The Superdome, meant to be a temporary shelter, turned into a symbol of governmental failure and human suffering. Despite billions of dollars in aid and years of recovery efforts, parts of New Orleans still bear the scars of Katrina's destruction. Yet, even in the face of such adversity, the spirit of New Orleans endured. Its cultural heartbeat, jazz music, Creole cuisine, Mardi Gras traditions, never stopped. Local residents, known for their fierce pride and strong community ties, began rebuilding from the ground up. The rebirth of New Orleans after Katrina is a testament to its resilience and its people's determination not just to survive, but to preserve the soul of the city that has captured hearts for over 3 centuries. New Orleans is more than a place. It's a living, breathing blend of cultures shaped by generations of people who have called the city home. Today, its population is a rich mosaic of African American, Creole, Cajun, French, Caribbean, Vietnamese, and Latin influences. This diversity is reflected in everything from the language and food to the music and religious beliefs practiced throughout the city. At the heart of New Orleans' identity is its deep cultural soul, and few things define it more vividly than jazz. This city is widely recognized as the birthplace of jazz music, a genre that emerged in the early 20th century out of African American communities, blending blues, ragtime, spirituals, and traditional African rhythms. Legendary figures like Louis Armstrong, Jelly Roll Morton, and Sidney Bechet helped define the sound that would come to influence music around the world. Today, visitors can hear the vibrant sounds of brass bands and jazz ensembles echoing through the streets of the French Quarter and at festivals like the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, which draws global crowds each year. Beyond jazz, another deeply rooted and often misunderstood aspect of the city's identity is its connection to voodoo or vodou, originating from West African spiritual traditions brought by enslaved people and later blended with Catholicism and French spiritual practices. Voodoo in New Orleans has evolved into a distinct belief system. While often sensationalized in popular culture, true New Orleans voodoo is a deeply spiritual and community-centered tradition that includes honoring ancestors, healing rituals, and the use of sacred objects. Today, it's not uncommon to find altars in local shops, spiritual readings offered by practitioners, or voodoo dolls and gris-gris bags sold as both cultural artifacts and spiritual tools. No exploration of New Orleans is complete without indulging in its world-famous cuisine. Among the must-try dishes is gumbo, a hearty stew often made with chicken, sausage, shrimp, and okra, thickened with a dark roux and flavored with Creole spices. Another staple is jambalaya, a rice dish loaded with a mix of meats and vegetables, seasoned with bold spices and often featuring andouille sausage. And for a taste of New Orleans' French influence, beignets, fried square pastries dusted with powdered sugar, are a sweet favorite, best enjoyed with a café au lait at the iconic Café du Monde. Each dish is a testament to the city's cultural crossroads, where African, French, Spanish, and Native American flavors come together in every bite. Getting around New Orleans offers travelers a chance to experience the city from unique perspectives. While many neighborhoods like the French Quarter and Marigny are walkable, the city also features the historic St. Charles Avenue streetcar line, one of the oldest continuously operating streetcar systems in the world. Streetcars, buses, ferries across the Mississippi River, and rideshare services help connect different parts of the city. For locals, cars and bikes are common, but many still embrace walking through their neighborhoods as part of daily life, especially during community events or second-line parades. English is the dominant language spoken in New Orleans today, but traces of French and Creole can still be heard in certain phrases, names, and local dialects. Words like lagniappe, a little something extra, and gris-gris, a voodoo charm, remain part of the local vocabulary. You may even hear a unique New Orleans accent, sometimes called the Yat dialect, named after the phrase, "Where yat?" a local way of asking, "How are you?" The city's year-round weather is subtropical and humid. Summers are hot and sticky with frequent thunderstorms, and temperatures often climbing into the 90s degrees Fahrenheit. Winters are typically mild, with cooler temperatures in the 50s and 60s. Spring and fall bring more comfortable weather, perfect for outdoor festivals and walking tours. However, the late summer and early fall months mark hurricane season, when residents keep a close eye on weather updates due to the city's vulnerable geography. New Orleans is filled with stories, some joyful, some painful, but all unforgettable. The city's heartbeat pulses not only through its food and music, but also through the resilience of its people who have held on to hope and rebuilt stronger communities after hardship. After Hurricane Katrina, countless residents returned to homes that had been underwater for weeks. Many had lost everything. One lifelong resident of the Lower Ninth Ward recalled wading chest-deep through contaminated water with her children, using street signs and spray-painted addresses to find her way. She later helped establish a local relief center that fed and clothed hundreds in the months after the storm, without ever leaving the city she calls home. Another story comes from a jazz musician who returned to find his childhood home destroyed, but managed to recover his trumpet from the rubble. Instead of mourning the loss, he took to playing every night in Jackson Square as both a tribute to the past and a signal of New Orleans' rebirth. His music drew crowds and eventually led him to tour with a local jazz collective celebrating the city's strength. New Orleans culture is deeply communal, spiritual, and artistic. Funerals aren't just solemn occasions, they're celebratory jazz parades called second lines, where brass bands lead mourners dancing in the streets to honor the life of the departed. Traditions like Mardi Gras Indians, Creole storytelling, and Sunday crawfish boils aren't just activities. They're expressions of identity and heritage passed down through generations. Some fun facts. New Orleans has more historic districts than any other city in the U.S. The city's Lake Pontchartrain Causeway is one of the longest bridges over water in the world. New Orleans is one of the few American cities where parades are held almost year-round. The Superdome, once a symbol of despair during Katrina, is now a beacon of major events, including the Super Bowl and concerts. The phrase "Big Easy" comes from a 1970s comparison between the relaxed lifestyle of New Orleans and the hustle of New York City. Must-see attractions include the French Quarter with its historic architecture and live music on nearly every corner, St. Louis Cathedral, the oldest continuously active Roman Catholic cathedral in the U.S., the National World War II Museum, one of the top-rated museums in the country, Garden District's oak-lined streets and antebellum mansions, the haunting yet beautiful above-ground cemeteries known as cities of the dead. Preservation Hall, where live traditional jazz is performed nightly in an intimate, no-frills setting. Bonus tips for travelers. Visit during French Quarter Festival if you want a less crowded but equally spirited alternative to Mardi Gras. Try a voodoo walking tour for a deeper understanding of the spiritual history. Attend a crawfish boil in spring or a second-line parade on a Sunday afternoon in Trem. Head to Frenchman Street for more authentic local music without the Bourbon Street chaos. New Orleans has also made a name for itself in film and television. Productions like The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, 12 Years a Slave, and Trem have all showcased the city's stunning backdrops, emotional depth, and distinct culture. The city's vibrant personality makes it a favorite for filmmakers seeking something raw, soulful, and atmospheric. In the end, New Orleans isn't just a city you visit, it's a place you feel. It leaves a mark on your heart with its blend of joy, sorrow, rhythm, and resilience. There's nowhere else in the world quite like it. So, if you're ready to uncover more hidden gems, powerful histories, and unforgettable stories from cities around the globe, make sure to like, subscribe, and share my channel. Let's travel through the soul of the world, one city at a time.